Hello and welcome to Rathod Science Academy. Today in this session we are going to see current affairs of 3rd February 2026. Let's get started. First of all, let us see important topics of the day, and later on we are going to analyze these articles from both prelims, mains and interview point of view, and later on I will be giving you prelims practice questions at last. Please do watch this video until last, guys. Okay, first topic it is about US tariffs on India cut to 18%, says Modi. So this article is talking about tariffs on Indian goods to US. And this topic is important from your economy point of view and as well as from international relations point of view also. This article is very important. And next topic is Himachal government sets goal of 31% forest cover by 2030. Actually, now Himachal Pradesh came up with a target of increasing of its forest cover. So here you have to see what are the present things, and as well as you have to see why Himachal Pradesh government wants to come up with this kind of initiative now. And next you have to see what are the challenges faced by this Himachal Pradesh now. And this topic is very important from your environment and ecology from GS paper 3. And next topic is Peniyar River dispute. Supreme Court directs center to form a tribunal. So here this article is talking about one important river called as Peniyar. So whenever you are getting any this kind of river disputes in the news, you may get basic fact based question related to that river. And actually you have to see about this river dispute between which and which state. And next you have to see what is this tribunal and when can we form this tribunal. And related to this interstate water river disputes, we have certain articles like Article 262 and Article 263 in our constitution talks about this. So here we have to see about those constitutional provisions as well. And this topic is important from polity and as well as geography point of view. And next topic is wetlands as a national public good. So here we have to see about what is a wetland and why this wetland are considered as national public good. And you have to see what are the challenges faced by this wetlands now. And here you have to make a list of Ramsar wetland list in our country. And this topic is important from your environment and ecology, guys. And next topic is why are tribals protesting in Maharashtra? So here tribals, they are the part of your society, right? And those people are vulnerable sections of society. In your society and social issues, you will be thinking about these tribals. And if you're from anthropology background, you will be having separately tribal anthropology related topics in your paper too. So here you have to see which are the tribals residing in the state of Maharashtra, and now we have to see at present why these tribals in this Maharashtra, they are protesting. And this topic is important from your society. And even here we have to see about the PESA Act, Panchayat Extension of Schedule Areas Act. Okay, so that comes under your polity from GS paper 2. So these are the topics that we are going to discuss in this class. See this title, guys. US tariff on India cut to 18%, says Modi Trump. So here this article is talking about US tariffs on Indian goods. This topic is talking about US tariffs on Indian goods. How much amount of tariff is imposed by US on India? Yes, 50% of tariff is imposed. Out of this 50%, 25% is imposed on Indian goods because of Russian Sanction Act of 2025. What is this Russian Sanction Act? Countries which are importing oil and gas from Russia, on those countries US will be imposing sanctions under this Russian Sanction Act. And under this Russian Sanction Act, US said we will impose up to 500%, and India is attracting around 25%. And other 25% of tariffs, now there is a reduction in this 25% of tariff from 25 to now 18%. So now 25 plus 18, how much it will be? 35, 40, 43, right? So now India will be having how much percentage of tariff? Totally 43% of tariff. Okay, only from this 25 normal tariffs, so they are decreasing it to 18%. That means around 7% of reducing of tariff, not like directly 50 to 18. Clear? So this Russian Sanction Act is like that only, but other tariff we are going to reduce, right? Okay, now let us see here. Now tell me guys, overall there is 7% of reduction of US tariffs on Indian goods, right? So how it is going to have impact? Do it have any impact on our Indian economy? What is the impact? Come on, think and tell me, what is the impact? Okay, our goods will become little bit competitive in US markets. So we can expect increasing of our exports to some extent. Next, our goods will become competitive. Next, come on, think. What happens between India-US relations? Somewhat betterment of ties between India and US. Next, think. Okay, now let us see the context. US President announced a trade deal with India, and they are going to reduce tariffs on Indian products from 25 to 18%, and it is going to come into effect immediately. And because of this reduction of tariff, especially our labor intensive sectors like textiles, fish industries or shrimp industry and leather goods, apparels, they are going to get benefited to some extent now. Okay, and even US and India wants to negotiate regarding this long standing trade disputes between India and US. And next important thing which mainly said in this article here is the primary reason now why this announcement made by US is they are emphasizing on reciprocal tariff to make trade fairer. So we want to improve the trade free and fair, and we want to reduce the rate as gesture of friendship towards Modi. So they want to show the gesture of friendship and they want to make trade fairer. So these are the two important reasons why US took this step. And next one here is we are also having certain geopolitical factors. For example, India's agreement to stop buying Russian oil, and it is aligning with US efforts to isolate Russia economically and promote US energy exports. And even India said that we are going to reduce this oil imports from Russia in future. So because of this, it is aligning with this US interest. So again, that is also one important reason. And this deal strengthens US-India relations as well. Okay, so if you see the impacts of this reduction of tariff, first one here is it will boost our Indian exports. And next one here is our goods will become competitive in US market. And next one here is we can increase our trade volume to US. And obviously whenever we are increasing our exports, obviously we have to increase our production. That will lead to increasing of growth in manufacturing sector in our country. And what will be the effects on US? Obviously, it will reduce trade deficit through increased Indian purchases of US goods. And this one is, it will be also benefiting US related farmers, energy producers, etc. Because now onwards, India can also increase its supply chain diversification towards US to get this crude oil. So that whatever the trade deficit US is facing, that can be decreased. So here you have to remember one point. So with major countries, with many countries, India is facing trade deficit. But with US, India is enjoying this trade surplus. And here US is facing trade deficit with India. So if India is buying more and more goods from US, obviously that trade deficit can be narrowed. That is this point is about. And this one is which sectors are going to be get benefited? Labor intensive sectors in India, for example, textiles, leathers, shrimp industry, seafood sectors, they are going to get a better markets in this US. And next one here is obviously India-US relations can be strengthened, and that will also leads to the supply chain diversification of India regarding this crude oil towards US. So these are the broader implications or impacts of this reduction of tariff. Okay, see this article, guys. Himachal government sets goal of 31% forest cover by 2030. This year, for sure, you may get a question regarding natural vegetation. In that also, you have to say about mountain forest and alpine forest, because Himachal Pradesh also comes under Himalayan state. Yes or no? So here, in natural vegetation topic, you will be seeing about tropical dry deciduous forest, tropical evergreen forest, desert forest, mountain forest. So like that, whatever the different types of forests which are present in India, you have to know. And actually, if you see the PYQs, every year you will be getting at least one question from this natural vegetation topic for sure, 100%. And this time you can expect question related to the two areas. First one is the evergreen forest and second one is mountain forest. Why mountain forest this year? Recently we discussed lots of articles related to forest fires. Forest fire in Uttarakhand region, that too in the Valley of Flowers, and in Arunachal Pradesh in Lohit Valley. Also one more forest fire we saw. And now Himachal Pradesh government wants to increase its forest cover now. So because of this, the forests which are present in this Himalayan region will be the focus area now this year. Okay. Now let us see here. Here, Himachal Pradesh government has set a target. What is the target? To increase state's forest cover from 29.5 percentage to 31 percentage. So if you see the number, I think you might have this thing in your mind like just 1.1 1.5% only, right? It is not a big change. But see the target year is 2030. Always whenever we are keeping targets, we have to keep practical and achievable targets, rather than this. If Himachal Pradesh says like by 2030 we have to achieve 90 percentage of forest cover, is that possible? So in a state, whatever the land we have to use it for the people and their residence area. And we have to go for conservation of certain areas for tourism, because Himalayan states are very good at tourism related economy. And if they are having more than this kind of 50%, 70%, 80% forest, is that feasible for that so and so state to be sustained in the long run? No. So they are coming up with a practical and achievable target, and now they want to come up with 31 percentage of forest cover by 2030. And if you see the details, why Himachal Pradesh government came up with this target now is they want to go for identification of sustainable plantation areas in each and every district, and they want to go for measuring of snow and as well as barren area and mountainous region, and based on the feasibility which kind of trees can be grown in that area, practically they want to identify that and they want to grow that kind of trees only in that area. And they are also focusing on native species rather than exotic species. And next one is they are focusing on fruit bearing plants and those with medicinal value. They are the prioritized plants now. Okay, why? Because food security is also very important. And if you go to US and some other European countries, you can see fruit bearing plants will be planted in this municipal areas where people will walk daily. Why? Because the major reason here is animals which are there in that region, they can consume that fruits which are fallen on the ground. Have you ever seen lots of reels on the YouTube? You can say that apples are grown, apples have been fallen on the road like that. No one is taking care of that apples. If we were in India, so even we cannot see one completely ripen apple on that tree. So you can see lots of reels in that way, like not only apples, different types of fruits, they are mainly grown as a part of the government itself. Government took that initiative to grow these plants. But if you see in India, rather than growing these fruit plants, we can see some banyan trees and as well as some other big trees for shadows had been grown across both the sides of the roads, right? But in US or like in European countries, they grow this fruit bearing. Why? Because we have lots of animals in our biodiversity, right? So here, if you are growing this fruit related trees, it will be helpful for ensuring of nutrient security of the people, and as well as animals which are present in that area will also get proper food. The problem in India is, do our animals are getting that kind of fruits? No, right? That is a one important reason. And next one here is, do you know about the stray dog issues in India? So because of this stray dog, because of lack of food, they are becoming terror, and they are becoming aggressive and they are attacking children, right? And many children are losing their life, and even Supreme Court gave the judgment regarding this stray dogs, and it became controversial, everything, right? So here in this Himachal Pradesh state, now they are focusing on fruit bearing plants and as well as plants which are having medicinal value rather than irrelevant plants in that area. And now let us see why this change they are going to come up with. The first one here is there is increased environmental concern, and as well as there is global challenge of warming. What is happening now? Climate change is happening, global warming is happening, increasing of our entire planet's temperature is happening at a very faster rate. So if you want to control temperature, what we have to do? Have you ever experienced normally in the summer season in India, urban areas are hot compared to that of rural areas, and normally in summer holidays where we'll move to rural areas. Why we'll move to rural areas in summer season? Because the plant cover is more and we can feel less temperature compared to that of urban areas, right? In the same way, if you are increasing this forest cover, obviously we can control and we can maintain temperature in that region. Because of this increasing of global warming, it is a need of hour now. And next one here is Himachal Pradesh is having its own unique geography, and most of the plantations are unsuitable to grow here because of harsh terrain. And this Himachal Pradesh is mainly, the name itself is saying that Himachal Pradesh, that means we can see very high snow cover and ice cover in this region. Can we grow plants that much easily in the snow cover regions? No. And it is having harsh terrain. And next one here is we are having less land for afforestation. That is a one more important challenge, and they want to go for increasing of afforestation in this region despite of its challenges. And this one is they are also focusing on community participation in this efforts. And next, what are the challenges they are going to have? The first one here is this region is barren and most of the land is under mountains, mountainous land, which is unsuitable for plantation, and they have very limited area for afforestation. That is the one major challenge the government can face to increase its forest cover. And next one here is they are focusing on the high survival rates of planted trees. What happens sometimes in winter season, there will be exclusive snowfall, and now you can see the reels which are trending related to this North India, that heavy rainfall, snowfall started, everything, right? So in this harsh type of weather, and even the by the wildlife which is present in this area, and especially maintenance of remote areas will become a big challenge now. That is also one more challenge. And this one here is balancing of new afforestation and as well as protecting of already existing forest is very difficult because of this changing weather patterns in this Himachal Pradesh region. Okay, that's it guys. And say this next article, title Peniyar River Dispute. Supreme Court directs center to form tribunal. What is this river? Have you heard about this Peniyar River? In which state we can see this river? Karnataka? AP. Next. Okay, AP. Check once. Peniyar. Karnataka, AP. Next, in which states it will flow? Only in Karnataka and AP? And tell me, this river water dispute is between which and which state? Is it between AP and Karnataka or Karnataka and Tamil Nadu? Actually, this river water dispute is between states of Karnataka and Tamil Nadu. So what you have to see is, you have to see your state and which are the rivers flowing in your state. And if you have any river dispute in your state, you have to see this. Okay, you have to make the list of river disputes. And next you have to see about state list and center list under which it will comes. And you have to see about articles like 262 and as well as 263 related to this constitution guys. So check once whether it will be flowing in AP or not. I am not sure with AP. Okay, see here the context. Why it is the news is now Supreme Court directed center to constitute a tribunal to deal with the dispute, that is water dispute between two states, Karnataka and as well as Tamil Nadu. So because of this, it is in news. Okay, if you see about interstate river disputes, we are having certain constitutional provision. So first of all, what is the meaning of interstate? Inter means between, right? So actually, inter means nothing but between, intra is nothing but within. Okay, if something is happening in one state, it is called as intra. If it is happening between two states, that is between inter. For example, international issues between one nation and another nation. So like that, you have to just break down the word and you have to understand the meaning. Interstate river water dispute is nothing but dispute is happening between two or more states related to river. So related to river means what all will comes? Related to use of river water, distribution of river water, and as well as control of river flow. So all these will come under interstate river water dispute. And actually water comes under both union list and as well as state list. In state list it comes under entry 17. So in the state list, state have the power related to water supply, irrigation, canals, drainage, embankments, water storage and hydroelectric power generation. As you all know that river is not static, it will be moving from one place to another place. Water will move from one place to another place. So whenever water is moving, what happens within the state? I think you might have seen that state government will be constructing certain dams and certain canals through which state government will be trying to provide drinking water facilities for their citizens of the state. And next one here is they will also provide water for better irrigation, agriculture, and even they have to provide water for the industries, because without water the industries cannot be run. If industries are not running, it will be affecting entire economy of that so and so state, right? So here under state list, state has the power regarding water supply of that water in that river, irrigation, construction of canals and drainage, especially irrigation related things, and how they are storing the water in that river. And related to union list or central list, it will empower the union government to regulate and develop interstate rivers. So if one river is flowing between two states, for example, if you take Godavari river, if you take Krishna river, in how many states it will flow? For example, Godavari. Godavari rises at which place? Nasik in Maharashtra. Then it will flows into which state? It will enter into Telangana, next AP, next Bay of Bengal. So if you take river Ganga, in how many states it will flow? Uttarakhand, Uttar Pradesh, next. Amma, very good. Map is in your mind. West Bengal, above West Bengal, Bihar, which is the Sorrow river of Bihar. Sorrow of Bengal, which river? Damodar. Okay, next. Not only in India, it will flow even in Bangladesh, river Ganga, and even river Brahmaputra also flows in like Tibet. Next one is India, and next one is Bangladesh. Like that, rivers are not flowing within our country and even in different countries. For example, if the river which is flowing in more than two states, if upper riparian state is stopping the water to enter into lower riparian state, then what happens? Is that good for the lower riparian state? Then what happens? Dishum fighting will happen. So this kind of fightings are called as interstate river water disputes. So to solve this, if entirely if it is control of state, will they solve this issue for sure? No. So to deal with this kind of interstate river water dispute, certain power is given to central government as well, because rivers are not flowing in entirely in one district. We have, sorry, in one state. We have many rivers which are flowing in different states, right? So to solve this kind of disputes, central government or union government also have the power under entries 56 of union list. What it will do? It will deal with interstate rivers disputes only. And we have Article 262 of our Indian Constitution. It will give power to our Parliament to come up with any laws or to solve the disputes or complaints related to this interwater disputes. Article 262. And this one is we have Article 263 talks about, what is this Article 263? Yes, it talks about establishment of tribunals. So now here what is happening is between Karnataka and Tamil Nadu, they are having the issue between water sharing issues regarding this Penya river, and they went for consultations. First, what they'll do here is, first of all, if there is any interstate water dispute, central government will try to resolve that issue because it is having the power under central list. First of all, it will consult state 1 and as well as state 2. And the representatives from the state 1 and state 2, they are made to sit together and the talks will happen. If in this talks, if they are compromising, then this issue will end. If they are not compromising, means what happens? Under Article 262 and as well as Article 263, now central government will establish a tribunal to see into this issue. Okay, so this is the process. Now the consultations had been done between Karnataka and Tamil Nadu, but there is no compromise. So here now Supreme Court asked the central government to use this Article 263 and to establish a tribunal. Are you understanding? Okay, this is the thing, guys. And if you see some facts regarding this Penya river, every year for sure you will be getting a question related to river also. It may be Himalayan rivers, it may be peninsular rivers, whatever it may be, rivers topic will be very important from your prelims. And this Penya river is also called as Dakshina Pinakini in Kannada. In Kannada language it is called as Dakshina Pinakini. In Tamil they will call it as Tenpenai, Poniyar, Peniyar. And if you see this origin of this river, which originated from the eastern slope of Nandidurg mountain, which is located in this Channakeshava hills of Karnataka. And if you see the course, Penya river flows through Karnataka and enters into Tamil Nadu, and finally it will empties in this Bay of Bengal. And the length of this river is around 497 kilometers, and it is the second longest river in Tamil Nadu after river Kaveri. And the major tributaries of this river are Markandeyanidhi, Kambainalur, Pamba rivers are the major tributaries of this river, guys. And you have to see even important cities. So earlier there was a question in your UPSC. They connected ancient history with these rivers. In 2025, they gave a question in your prelims. They asked her, this Avanti, Koshla, Magadha, important Mahajanapadas, right? They were present along which river? That was the question asked in 2025. And before that, UPSC also asked this kind of question. They asked the river and major city through which it passes. For example, Yamuna passes through Delhi. Like that, they took 4 to 5 rivers and they asked which city they flows through or on the banks of which city. Are you understanding? So like that, in this way also you can get a question. So one type of question you can expect here is directly they may ask question related to a single river. For example, consider the following statements regarding Indus River. Consider the following statements regarding Ganga River. Consider the following statements regarding the Penya River, and they'll give you 2 to 3 statements. Or else the second type of question is consider the following tributaries, and they'll give you in line like 4 to 5 tributaries, and they may ask you which of the following are right bank tributaries of Krishna or left bank tributaries of Godavari. So like that, they'll be giving you this kind of tributaries based question. And in 2023, there was a question, which of the following dam was constructed on this river Tungabhadra? So like that, you will be getting very simple ABC type of questions. Or else you will be getting this kind of pair based question. On one side, they'll be giving you the river. On another side, they'll be giving you the city. Or like ancient important kingdoms like that. So in the different ways, UPSC can ask a question. You have to prepare in all dimensions. So how can you know that in which way UPSC can give the question? You have to see the PYQs of last 40 years. Then you will be getting a clear-cut idea like how UPSC is asking the questions. Why? Because from the last 2 years, UPSC started asking questions based on assertion and reasons. But from 2015 to 2022, there was not even a single question asked by UPSC on this assertion and reasoning. Earlier in 2008, 2006, or 1980s, 1990s, they used to ask this assertion and based reasoning. After 2008, they didn't ask. But again, they started the trend. That means they are going back and they are asking the previous types of questions of UPSC. So if you want to know that, if you should not get any shocks in the examination hall, you have to see this PYQ so that you will be getting acquainted with which kind of questions UPSC can ask. Okay. See this article, guys. Title says wetlands as a national public good. So yesterday is February 2nd, right? February 2nd is marked as World's International or World's Wetlands Day, guys. So because of this, you have to know about this wetlands. And wetlands is very important topic in your environment and ecology as well, and you have to know that for sure. So here, if you see the title, it says that wetlands are the national public good. Why they are called as nation's public good? What are the ecological functions of this wetlands? Can you tell me, anyone? And this wetlands, we have natural wetlands and as well as artificial wetlands. So here this topic is saying about what are the functions of this wetlands. Come on, think and tell me. What they'll do wetlands? Yes, how? They maintain ecosystem, right? But how? Hmm? Okay, wetlands have huge biodiversity, for example, aquatic animals, and even wetlands will attract migratory birds. That will helpful for ecotourism. That is the first one. Next, climate. How? Expand. Yes, maintain ecological function. Next, food web, food chains. Okay, next. Come on, online students, tell me in the comment box. Huh? How? It will provide livelihood, especially fishing community can depend on this wetlands for their livelihoods. Next, provides water. Okay, especially it will be helpful for groundwater replenishment, filling of aquifers. Okay, accepted. Next, how? Example for that? Yes, Ramsar Convention, international importance. Okay, next. Come on, tell me. Very, very important point you didn't address so far. Will they helpful to prevent coastal erosion, especially during storm surges? And next one here is if there is any flash floods in urban areas, where this excess water will go? Wetlands. If there are no wetlands, what happens? That will lead to flash floods, flooding in these urban areas. That is a problem in Telangana state. Because of that only Telangana state government launched this mission Hydra. Yes. Next. Think. You know. Come on. Think. Okay. Huh? Climate change impact. Okay. To some extent, we can accept that. So if you see what are these wetlands, wetlands are described as multiple use systems and they serve as both ecology and economy. And these wetlands, they provide essential services like water management. And they provide irrigation, habitats for biodiversity, and even they are very important for cultural heritage. For example, you know about this Mahakumbh, especially people will go for this bathing. And even if you see in your IVC also, in one site, Mohenjo-daro, you will come across this great bath. So people will go for mass bathing, especially religious bathing. And especially in some months in India, there are specially that months are revered for that so and so god. At that time, what happened? We'll go for religious or communal bathing. So because of this, this water bodies will also provide communal heritage and as well as cultural heritage. We can promote that, and we can promote social unity as well. And next one here is we have different types of wetlands, especially we have freshwater wetlands, we have coastal wetlands, especially in this Kerala. Kerala is very famous for backwaters. Have you heard about this backwaters? We can see along this coast of Kerala, big, long, elongated Kayals. They are nothing but the lakes, especially Vembanan Lake. Okay. Next one is in urban areas also we have water bodies, especially water conservation and water storage facilities. And we have natural, we have riparian, we have even high altitude area wetlands. And next one here is why we are calling it as a national public good is it is having a shared heritage. It will support social well-being. It will support traditional knowledge and as well as livelihoods of the people. And especially water is this kind of wetlands are very important for water system, especially water management and as well as groundwater replenishment, aquifers filling, and as well as it will provide livelihood opportunities for most fishing communities in coastal areas of our country. And the next one here is importance of this wetlands. First one here is now why we have to treat this wetlands as a national public good is we have abundant benefits and as well as many ecological services provided by this wetlands because it is intersection of water and as well as land and as well as developmental pressures because what is happening in India is increasing of population at a very faster rate and some reports says that India already beaten China in this population and India is the largest populous country in the world. So what happens whenever there is increasing of population, we have to provide proper housing facilities and proper space for the people to live in. What happens slowly this wetlands are converting into some communities within months of span. That is a problem which mainly seen in cities like Hyderabad. So here what is happening here? Encroachment of wetlands are happening at a very fast to meet the needs of increasing population of our country. Because of this what is happening, we are seeing lots of negative impacts. What are the negative impacts? If there is no wetlands, what happened? Excess water will not be seeping into the ground. They will cause us floods in urban areas. And this one is we cannot attract migratory birds. So because of this entire food chain, food web will be getting affected. And if there is no attracting of migratory birds, it will be affecting our ecotourism. And we cannot balance our environment. And if groundwater depletion happens, can we ensure water supply or water security? That is a major cause why this major urban metropolitan areas are facing this problem of water. For example, Bangalore, for example, Delhi, even in Hyderabad and Ashok Nagar, if you will come across this problem that every hostel will be getting water through tankers and you will be not getting water on time and you will be getting late for the classes in this summer season, especially in the end of this March onwards you will be getting this problem and you will be facing that for sure. Why? Because there is water scarcity because of no wetlands in our areas, because of illegal encroachment of this wetlands. And next one here is we need to have a shift from short term projects and superficial beautification towards ecological functionality. Actually what is happening in this lakes or wetlands in major urban areas, we are going for just beautification process to attract tourism. Rather than that, we have to go for in-depth ecological functionality of that wetlands, and especially we need to focus on this watershed scale governance so that we can ensure sustainable management of this wetlands. Apart from this, we have even Wetlands Conservation and Management Rules 2017, and as well as we have National Plan for Conservation of Aquatic Ecosystem and as well as Coastal Regulation Zone, and we have Ramsar designated sites list, everything. So why we have to implement all those things here is for the better coordination, better funding, and as well as better enforcement of laws. And we have to strengthen our restoration and as well as compliance mechanisms. And even we can use the satellite related data and we can identify exactly whether this wetlands area is increasing or shrinking. So if shrinking, in which areas it is shrinking, and we have to give in orders for those states to take certain steps related to this wetlands. But what are the problems we are facing now related to this wetlands is, first one is illegal encroachment. If you see in India, around 40% of wetland area had been reduced because of this illegal encroachment. And next one here is hydrological disruptions. Whenever we are building dams, embankments, and even sand mining, and even whenever you're going for groundwater over exploitation, that will be also having impact on this wetlands. And this one here is whatever the industrial effluents, whatever the household waste or sewage, whatever it may be, we are releasing it into directly water nearby wetlands. For example, you can get the smell of tankment, especially in the winter season till your class. Not only that, you can see the what is the fate of this uh, what is that Musi river, and even nearby you have one Nala. You can see how the water quality is there. The major problem in this wetland is pollution. And next one here is coastal wetlands. They are facing threats because of landward development. We are going for ports. We are going for development of aquaculture, tourism. Because of this, what is happening, especially these wetlands in this coast areas are facing one more type of problems. And this one here is capacity constraints in the states. Because of increasing of population, there is no space. Capacity is less. The capacity bearing of the states is increasing. So because of this, there is increased pressure on this wetlands now. So these are the challenges. And as a district administrator, you have to think like how you can restore this wetlands and how can you ensure proper ecological balance in your district. For example, in your interview, you can expect this kind of questions. For example, if you're from Bhopal, you'll be getting question in this way. In Bhopal, which are the famous lakes? If you're from Hyderabad, they'll be asking you like about Hussain Sagar, or else they will be asking about some other lakes which are very famous in Hyderabad, and they'll be saying that. Yes, the problem nowadays we can see in urban areas is encroachment of wetlands. Because of this, we are going to have huge drastic impacts of environment in future. So if you are a district administrator in that region, how can you balance development and how can you balance this development and wetland protection or conservation of wetlands? So in this way, you will be getting analytical based questions in your interview, and you have to be well prepared before going into that, and you have to know exactly each and every nook and corner of the place you are living or you are coming from. And next one here is you have to know about your state. And in DAF, they will be also asking about your father's residence and as well as your mother's residence. And even you may get questions from your father residential area and as well as your mother residential area. Okay, and you have to know in detail about whatever the place that you have given in your DAF. And actually, your interview will start when you fill your DAF. If notification is out, so please fill your DAF. Everything should be kept in the mind and don't give some extra things. If you know that, only you have to fill that. And actually, one thing I came across in Delhi is interviews are going on, mock interviews. One girl is sitting outside interview room, and she started searching about her hobbies. We asked that why you're searching now, means I don't know what is that, but some of my friends suggested that it is a very good hobby, keep that in the DAF. So she blindly kept that in the DAF, and now she is searching about that before her interview. It is not good actually, because if you search now, if you have not having that hobby really, if they are asking any analytical questions, you will be not able to answer that. So don't listen to others people words like this is very good or hobby like that. So whatever the hobbies you have, keep that genuinely, because those people are like aged people, so they can grasp everything based on your looks, based on your way of speech communication, and whether you are lying or not, whether you're honest or not, they can identify that. So please be clear before filling that kind of DAF. Okay, yeah, now let us see the next article. Look at this. A full stop. Making access to menstrual hygiene for girls a fundamental right is a big step. We discussed about this article, I think, 1 day or 2 days ago. What we discussed, Supreme Court gave a judgment and it expanded Article 21, and it included that women or girls access to this menstrual hygiene management is their fundamental right. Okay, and I already said like how you can get a question, especially for girls in their interview regarding this. And I already said to make a note of the judgments which had been in the news last year, which expanded the scope of Article 21. And which edition of Lakshmikant you have? 7th? 6th? 4th. Very good. 4th, 6th, 7th. So in please download the PDF of 8th edition of Lakshmikant. Why? Because in 8th edition of Lakshmikant, there is a separate chapter related to Article 21 and scope of Article 21 and judgments related to Article 21. Separate chapter they included in this Lakshmikant 8th edition. You can get that PDF online. You can search different Telegram channels or directly in the websites. You can get that and see that 21 Article A. Okay, Article 21 about that in detail, guys. You may get question. And already UPSC asked question related to Article 21 thrice, around 2018 onwards. And again, in this Article 21, what is happening is Supreme Court is going for lots of judgment. It is going on expanding the scope of Article 21. So there is a very high chance of getting again and again the question on this Article 21. Okay. I can't remember exactly which chapter is this, but it is the newly added chapter in 8th edition of Lakshmikant. Okay, do that work today. And here this article is saying that Supreme Court of India won landmark judgment. In earlier class, I didn't set the case name, right? So please add there the case name. Dr. Jaya Thakur versus Government of India. Write down the name of the case. Dr. Jaya Thakur versus Union of India. Dr. Jaya Thakur versus Union of India. So in this case, Supreme Court of India declared right to menstrual health is a fundamental right under Article 21. And now Supreme Court ordered all schools to provide free sanitary pads and gender segregated toilets. Separate toilets for boys and girls in every school. There is a now order given by the Supreme Court to schools. And Supreme Court now expanded Article 21 right to life and personal liberty, and they included menstrual hygiene management. Now, and they said that access to this sanitary pads or toilets, it is not a charity by the state. See the line, it is very good. It is not just a charity by the state, but it is a constitutional obligation to ensure dignity, privacy and equality for girl students. Please make a note of that line. It is very good. You can use that either in conclusion or introduction of your answer. Okay, it is not just a charity. It is a constitutional obligation to ensure dignity, privacy, equality. And in your mains answers, you have to use certain kind of keywords which will attract examiner. Such kind of keywords you can see is, it is not a charity. Daya, Dakshinam, it is not like that. It is a constitutional right. So like that you can use certain kind of keywords. And next, which articles are involved here? Article 21, Article 14, Article 21A. We discussed all those things in our earlier class, right? It is nothing new. And what is the outcome of the Supreme Court judgment now? Here, girls from both government schools and as well as private schools, they are going to get free sanitary napkins who are belonging to this class 6 to 12th now. And this one here is schools has to upgrade its infrastructure. And they have to come up with separate toilets for the boys and as well as girls. And they have to come up with even disabled friendly toilets as well. And in every toilet, they have to ensure that there is a water supply and as well as soap availability. And this one here is even they need to establish menstrual health management corners in the schools. In that schools, they have to provide a spare uniform and as well as innovates and as well as disposal bags for emergencies. Now girls are going to get this from their schools. And next one here is even district education officers, they have to conduct annual inspections and collect anonymous student feedback also related to this kind of menstrual health management corners, whether they are getting that or not. Especially in private schools, if they are not getting that, means they are going to face this de-recognition. The cancellation of that schools can be happened. It is a severe punishment for this private schools. And see this article, guys, why are tribals protesting in Maharashtra? Okay, not only these tribals which are protesting in Maharashtra is in news. Have you know about this Kalbelia community? They are like snake dancers. Snake dance is very famous, right? They will wear black color dress Have you heard about this Kalbelia community? They are from Rajasthan actually. Recently, I saw one news that is not appeared in our Hindu International Edition. The news was one person in that community died, and they brought the dead body and they placed on the road, and they are fighting for getting burial ground for their community. Okay, so there are certain kinds of protests which are happening related to these tribals, and one more protest here is it is happening in this Maharashtra region. So here from the last few days, thousands of tribal farmers, you can see image itself showing that huge population of these tribals are participating in this protest, and they are from Palghar and Nasik districts, and they are making separate long marches in Maharashtra, and these marches are organized by All India Kisan Sabha and Communist Party of India related to the pending land rights. So here these people are fighting for their land rights, and the primary demands of these tribals are they want to get their land rights, and they need to get employment and as well as irrigation and education in their areas. And they are saying that since generations we are tilling the land in that area, and we need to get the lands under our names because we are tilling the land from generations. How can government take away that land? So that is the demand they are doing, and they are saying that we need to extend this PESA Act to that region so that employment opportunities will be there for the youth of that tribals. That is the second one. Yeah, that's it, guys. So these are the two things. And here you have to know about what are the problems faced by this tribals in India. So majorly what problems they'll face: land rights. They do not have the property or land in their name. And next one here is mostly if government is coming up with any infrastructure projects or development projects, they need to be get displaced. That is happening in this Nicobar Island also. Which tribals are going to be displaced now? Nicobaris and Shompen tribes. And next one here is they do not have proper access to this balanced diet as we have. So because of this, they will be having very huge malnutrition, anemia, MMR, and infant mortality rate will be very high in that region. And they do not have proper education and health facilities because these tribal people do live in remote areas. So here, because of accessibility problem, they will be not having any access to this healthcare and as well as good infrastructure and also education. That is also violating their basic fundamental rights. Okay, like this they are having, and even many a times they are exploited also. Exploitation is a major problem. Okay, so here because of this tribal people will fight. And if you're from anthropology background, you can add this article of tribals in Maharashtra and as well as Kalbelia community in your 5th to 9th chapters, where you study about this tribal movements and as well as problems of the tribals in India. Okay, so in this way you have to add some current affairs related to the tribes, and even you can add about Nicobaris and Shompan tribes problems in this tribal challenges because of this Great Nicobar project. So in that way you have to add certain value to your answers based on 1 year current affairs case. That is more than enough. Okay, now let us see questions. See this. Consider the following pairs regarding Ramsar sites in India. Renuka wetland, Himachal Pradesh; Hokera wetland, Jammu and Kashmir; Rudrasagar Lake, Tripura. How many pairs given above are correctly matched? Come on. Very good. Very good memory. No idea? Little bit? At least one or two? Don't you know about this Renuka wetland? It is very famous, Renuka. Come on, think. Online students. Okay, online students, tell the answer in the comment box, don't forget. And see the next question. Consider the following statements regarding Ramsar Convention on Wetlands. It is a static question. The Ramsar Convention is an international treaty for conservation and wise use of wetlands, signed in 1971 in Ramsar, Iran. And next one, under Ramsar Convention, it is mandatory for contracting parties like India to protect and conserve all wetlands in their territory. The wetlands are defined under convention as areas of marsh, fen, peatland or water whether natural or artificial, permanent or temporary, with static or flowing water, fresh, brackish or salt, including marine areas up to 6-meter depth at low tide. So this is the one interview question we asked to one student, and why we asked is, in his hobbies, he said that conservation of wetlands is my hobby. Conservation of wetlands. He got lots of questions, cross questions regarding wetlands. Don't get into that kind of things, guys. That's what I'm saying. So this is the same thing. What is a wetland according to you? What is a Ramsar convention definition of wetlands, and which wetlands are in the bad condition? How many types of wetlands? And you worked for which wetland? What problems you faced? Challenges? Which are the invasive species? I asked one question. He didn't answer that. The question I can remember is, which is the famous aquatic invasive plant we can see in the wetlands? That's a very simple question, but he didn't answer. So if you write all those things like that, means you will be getting cross questions for sure. And if you're not answering the questions in your DAF, then that will be giving you a negative impact on your marks. If you're saying, if you're not answering something question which is out of your DAF, it is okay. But if you're not answering the things which are there in your DAF, means it is not tolerated. Okay, you have to be very much careful. So tell me the answers for these two questions. Read carefully the statements. You'll get a clue in this second one. If not in first, you can get clue in second one. That's all, guys. Online students, please let me know your answers in the comment box. And by this, I'm concluding. Thank you so much, guys, for watching. And please do like this class and share this class. And if you had not yet been subscribed to this Rathod Science Academy, please do subscribe this channel. And one more thing is, if you are going to start your UPSC preparation, we in our academy are going to launch new prelims cum mains foundation course within 4 to 5 days. And admissions are going on, guys. If you have any queries regarding this course, you can contact us on this number 8074765513. Or else, if you want to visit our academy, you can come to Hyderabad in Ashok Nagar, exactly above Vikas Book Center, second and third floor. We have our academy. You can come and you can contact us. Thank you so much, guys.